Shoved it into hundreds of little pieces, apparently. It's like gravel.
Smashed it up. Does that look like one of those picnic chops?
This is Bomber Control. Scampton aircraft, readiness state 05. For Scampton aircraft, readiness state 05. Bomber Control out.
Shove the ladder up.
With our role at the moment, if we go to war, we would tend to fly one sortie only as a series of single aircraft on especially pre-planned routes. During the war, bomber raids were a mess. Well, there were 1,000 bomber raids or just 50 bomber raids. They were still pre-planned and they went on one night and then maybe there was a night off and then the next night another one went and so on. And the whole thing lasted for a long time. We don't think we'd do that. We spend all our time training, not actually flying missions, but the war mission itself would be very, very different.
I don't think there's anything different, really. It's just another squadron.
You've just picked up a history, that's all. You know, you're living with the history. And of course, when competitions come around, you know, you're relating to that past history, really. You are flying the exercise for that squadron who did that many years ago.
In March 1943, R.A.F Scampton, a bomber base 5 miles north of Lincoln, became home to a special new squadron formed to carry out one of the most ingenious attacks of the whole war. Under the leadership of a 25-year-old wing commander called Guy Gibson, 617 Squadron, as it became known, was set the difficult task of breaching the great dams of Germany's industrial centre with a new and unorthodox weapon designed by one of Britain's leading inventors. For 6 weeks in that spring of 1943, the elite crews of the new squadron practiced low flying at night, 60 feet above the reservoirs of Derbyshire and the Lake District. The whole operation was shrouded in total secrecy.
I think the night we had the most fun was on that of the 16th of May last year, when we attacked the Mona Dam. We were flying just on the left of Wing Commander Gibson and were due to drop our mines after him. We arrived over the dam and circled whilst Wing Commander made his attack. Another aircraft followed, dropped his mine, and we saw him shot down on the dam wall. Wing Commander Gibson, who was directing operations by RT, as he circled around the dam, trying to draw the fire on himself, called us in next. We dropped our mines and pulled away. The other aircraft were ordered to attack one by one, and after 5 of us altogether had dropped our mines, we saw a great wall of water shoot out horizontally from the dam wall. The job was done.
Scientists, British and American, have made the atomic bomb at last. The first one was dropped on a Japanese city this morning. It was designed for a detonation equal to 20,000 tons of high explosives. President
The
Truman
detached
gave
efficiency
news
of the
this
atom bomb
afternoon in a
attacks on
statement
Hiroshima
from
and
Washington.
Nagasaki
President
were a
Truman
stark
added
contrast to the
that
skill and
atomic
daring
bomb
of the
was
Dams
another
raid just 2
new
years earlier.
revolutionary increase.
It was the end of the airman as a hero and the beginning of a new kind of war. In 1958, 617 Squadron was reformed and returned to its old home base at Scampton, one of the first squadrons in the Air Force to fly the new Vulcan. For the next 23 years, first as a high-level bomber in the forefront of Britain's nuclear force, and later in a remarkable transformation, adopting a low-level strike role, the Vulcan remained a familiar flying triangle in the skies over Lincolnshire. The crews of 617 Squadron came and went, endlessly preparing for a task which, to the outside world at least, would only be done well if it were never done at all. This film was made in the closing days of 617's existence. Soon the squadron would be gone, their Vulcan bombers consigned to the breaker's yard. December 8th, 1981. With enough fuel left in the squadron's allocation for just 12 more hours flying, Flight Lieutenant Mike Kay's crew prepares to take off on its final training sortie.
As the captain, it's my job to coordinate the work of the crew as individuals. We have a number of basic training exercises to do throughout a 6-monthly period. We will be programmed to fly on certain days, and on those days we look at the weather, we plan a sortie, choose our own route, and we plan the content of the sortie to suit ourselves. Airfield attack on Scampton.
Belmont gives us the safety altitude for all the bit while we're on land of 3,400. You've got an awful lot of air traffic for a small island. You've got an awful lot of cities, which we don't fly over. You've got an awful lot of villages, which we don't fly over, or try not to. Mink farms, hang gliding sites, stables. To look at the map and say everything except the cities is low-flying area, terrific, great, and then look more closely at it and look at the restrictions that we have to plot. It's not that easy to find a stretch where you can go in a straight line for more than 10 or 20 miles. I've checked all the NOTAMs and stuff like that.
Okay, no 28s or WRS, no restriction on bomb doors today.
The navigator plotter will have, for want of a better phrase, navigated us to a suitable point whereby the navigator radar then takes over and becomes, to all intents and purposes, the bomb aimer.
The land again, running in, fixing, keep you advised of terrain around. Coming down for the one attack of the trip, we'll go for a 2F4 aids, so we'll go radar into visual on the tower at Scampton.
We'll run in down here, Charlie, if you bring us just to the south of Market Raisin. As soon as I've picked up my IP, we'll go visually. When you get down to low level, one of the pilots usually has a map to navigate by. There is a lot of bad weather in this country. With low cloud, if you're flying through valleys, it can be very challenging to operate the aircraft at low level. I will call deselect when I actually acquire the target visually.
We descend into the Humber Ridge. I first joined the Vulcan force in 1966. This was in the days of the Quick Reaction Alert Force. Its role then was the primary national nuclear deterrent, which stipulated a response within 4 minutes. The role that was taken over by the Polaris.
Time check, it is 10:48 exactly in 10 seconds. 5, 3, 2, 1, now.
Okay, the aircraft's ready, let's go.
It look like a hair.
Davy Crockett.
Keep me warm.
It's a hair, not a rabbit.
It's almost flyable.
Yeah, nice and clean. All the items.
It's very much a pilot's airplane, I think. It's got a lot of power, it's very responsive, and it handles very much like a smaller aeroplane, really. You've only got to watch a Vulcan displaying to appreciate just what you can do with it. It's much more of a problem from the guys in the back, because they tend to sit in a black hole. It's not so much like flying to them, I don't think. They do their job. Obviously, they're wholly tied up with the navigation and the bombing runs and the electrical side of the aircraft. But just from pure flying, I don't think it's an aircraft that rear crew would choose to fly in.
I think that statement will be backed wholeheartedly by every rear crew member on the V-Force. It gets very hot, very sticky, it's very uncomfortable, and you get locked up in it for 3 to 4 hours and you land back at the same place, and all you've been doing is watching a green mush really all day on the television screen.
Okay, Chief, you come off intercom, count on the port with the thumbs up when you clear to go. Okay, so chops and external clear, clearing this time. Okay, thanks.
Kilo 21, clear taxi 05 left hand, TFE 976, plan 1 Valley, plan 2 Waddington.
During taxi, brakes and nose steering, hydraulic pressure zones must be checked.
Okay, radar ready to taxi.
You're clear on the right.
Can you stick that alive temp into the stack?
Clear to roll, caution, wake turbulence.
Safety equipment. Transfer switches.
Centre guarded.
Lights out. TV windows.
Port's locked on.
You have and stop. Medium. Tank pressurization switch. On. 5 instruments. Checked. Serviceable. Set for takeoff. Altimeter, we have 976.
Plus 10 in the back. Okay, about minus 30 in the front.
Kilo 21, takeoff.
21, line up.
Line up 21. All engines. Check. 70 on 1, 2. 80 on 1, 2. Okay, call that, please. Kilo 21 rolling. 21. Back on intercom. Power checked.
60, checked. 100, 110, 120, 130, decision rotate. And a carriage up. Selected 3 routes. Steers in. Okay.
Turn left 30 degrees, traffic crossing E12, approx range 30 miles, flight level 310 on the runway. S26, clear, turn right, resume air navigation. Contact eastern radar 257.7.
26 for that, sir.
We'll be holding this track until we intercept the tracker drew at the briefing. That'll be in another 4 minutes or so.
Roger.
And then once we turn southwesterly, it'll be 36 miles or so to the coasting. To this speed, shouldn't take us very long.
Roger.
Where are we then?
Go past Dambuster, and I'll shortly be turning you onto your magnificent bomb run.
Right.
If you drop bombs as well as Villa play football, we'll be right in it.
We won the league then.
We have a target, and we study that target every so often. No other crew knows what it is, in the same way that we don't know the targets that other crews have. And we study those targets in secure rooms, and we go over the route concerned, and we're always trying to improve crew efficiency, crew professionalism. We talk about tactics that we would employ on a war mission. So we are always working up towards that mission to maintain our combat effectiveness.
Okay, turning you in on the bombing run at about 10 miles now.
And crew from radar, this will be 2 F4 Lades on the control tower at Scampton Airfield. SOP run, bomb doors at 3 miles, camera at 1 mile. Once you've got the target visual from the front, if you call me, I'll deselect in the back. Any questions?
8 miles.
8 miles.
We've got 320 knots. You're on track, looking for the target.
Okay. So the bomb advised demand.
On track, heading for the target.
That checks the 0 demand. Wings level full correction. 6 miles in, 0 demand. 6 miles. Okay, correction coming in. Corrections in, 0 demand.
Roger,
that's good. The steer is good at the moment.
Roger.
5 miles. Bomb doors at 3 miles, camera at 1 mile.
If we see the bomb steer starting to go, then... all miles. Okay, runway lights in sight.
Okay, go to chair, please.
Kilo 45.
Kilo 45.
3 mile switches are made, opening doors.
Kilo Victor Lima 45, go to attack.
Okay, call me 1 mile for the camera. You won't get realistic time.
Roger. And 986, we're running at 506.
That's 2 miles, speed is good.
Roger. Coming down to 1 mile. Camera on.
Camera's on, running.
Camera on. Is running. And target visual, cancel ballistics.
Okay, they are cancelled.
Right, a 2. Releasing 3, 2, 1, now.
Okay, bomb's gone, closing doors.
The nuclear force is really like an insurance policy, and the amount of money you put into that force and the more effective you make it is that you're hoping that will be sufficient to deter the other side, and I think this is the main thing. And if we ever had to go to war, then it would be because that policy had failed.
The knowledge of the job that you do, obviously, I think everybody on the crew, everybody in the V-Force has at some stage sat down and thought about it. And it's something that if you had any qualms or misgivings about, then you're in the wrong job. You've got no place here if things aren't clear-cut in your own mind. And I think everybody on the crew would back me up on that.
Because of the way we operate, the moral issues are very depersonalised in that we would never actually see the carnage that we might cause. Therefore, although we obviously think about it and everybody prays that it will never happen, come the day, and if we had to go to war, then I think that would probably be in the back of our minds, because we don't see our enemy face to face. I think if you were facing somebody with a gun, it would be a very different matter.
We've got freedom, I think, whereas other countries don't have individual freedom. That needs defending, and that needs defending with, if they're going to throw stones at you, you throw stones back, and if they're going to throw nuclear weapons at us, then you've got to go back with the same thing, just to keep things level at the end. And yet the sad thing is, if we ever do go to war, then there's not going to be much left at the end for anybody to be master of. Struck a lot.
Well, apparently they're talking about not taking them all down to St Athan now.
Let's just finish then.
Because once they get them down there, they're having to send all the spare parts that they need back up here.
Yeah, but that raises the question, what do you do with the airplanes?
Yeah.
You can't make them disappear overnight.
Well, you can make frying pans in Wales, or you can make frying pans in England. It doesn't really matter, does it?
It's very
Go
sad.
US and we'll be the last crew to fly it.
Yeah.
Was it going to Abingdon?
No, it's going to Bomber Museum eventually, I
When
think.
you take your little grandchild down to the Bomber Command Museum, you see, she'll say, what's that? And you say, it's a Vulcan. And she'll say, it's Vulcan 318, what we last flew.
And she'll say, did you fly with Charlie Brickle?
Yeah.
We've flown our last trip, and tomorrow we're starting to clear from the station, going on different ways. After 3 years?
It's been a good 3-year tour. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed flying the Vulcan. I like the aircraft. But it's moving on to something new.
You can't spend 3 years working closely with 4 other people without having some good times, having some laughs, some bad times. It's a little bit sad, but not that sad, because we're all, if you like, professionals in that we've done it before. We'll move on to another station where the guys are the same, the beer's the same. Life moves on.
Any luck on the house yet?
No, I don't expect to get rid of it possibly until the middle of next year.
Okay, sir.
Right. Okay, folks. First of all, who's got the keys to the Mini? Can you get them for me, please? Right, after today's problem, we're going to have to change the programme for Thursday.
Plan is Charlie.
And Tony, we've got 9 hours left.
Yes.
Easiest thing to do is to cancel both trips on Thursday and put the ICC on. Okay?
Without crew.
Yep.
Okay. 1100 takeoff?
11:30.
11:30.
Can I ask you that now?
Yeah.
I'll go over and see the line because they're having quite a lot of problems. They're going to jack up the aircraft. But we can. It's got a hydraulic leak or something. So I'll go and break it gently to the flight sergeant that we're changing the program on him on Thursday.
Okay.
So I had to scrub that off. And apologise to our Walker. He's just had his last Vulcan sortie.
Yes.
And also John Ritchie. He's around somewhere. Break it gently to him as well. How long before this one's going to be ready then?
Well, we should have it jacked in about 20 minutes, and from there we'll change the walking joint, and she should be serviceable within half an hour after that.
And the early?
Crew chiefs are more sad that they're going than the average tradesman, because we are in the position where we see the glamorous side of everything. We go with the crews abroad, and we have a good time. The lads are left here doing their night shifts in the bleak of winter, and there we are sunning it up in Hawaii.
I think the job satisfaction at first line must be more realised than anywhere else, because you can come into work in the morning, you work hard, and eventually the aircraft launches. It does a trip and it lands, and in your one day you have achieved something.
Working on lead is, you could say, difficult, but you can get the easy side of the Air Force when you're working in a bay. You don't join the Air Force to take the difficult side of things.
But then again, you don't join it to take the easy side of things.
No, you don't think about that when you're joining up.
Just the
you
same
just
as if
accept
you went out on an oil rig or something like that. Working in bad conditions, you just take that for granted.
I think you decide on the overall life of the Air Force and take what comes. You know, if you're lucky and you get an exotic overseas posting, that's fine. And if you get somewhere like the back end of nowhere here, then and it's 6 foot deep in snow and you're shoveling it, well, that's fine. You know, you just wait for the tropical posting coming up.
Well, we're red here, so we're not going to get off certainly immediately, because if we take off from here with plan 2 limits, we'll be the only one going, so we can use ourselves. But it's very tight, that one around as well.
Well, let me know if there's any change in time.
Yes, of course. Right, this is our notional last training sortie. Normal training content, but we're going around a fairly special route for obvious reasons. The weather, first of all, as you can see outside, it's foggy, it's cold, and there's freezing fog all up and down the country. The area forecast calls up a depression over the Channel Isles at 6Z, and the trough north of the depression is crossing the local area in the afternoon. The trough is the thing that will give us the clearance. The planned one is Lucas. Even there, we're pushing on the limits of an acceptable diversion. Anyway, for the moment, we will plan to go out on time. We'll plan to fly the sortie as though it was all okay. The sortie itself, normal takeoff, from here up past Sheffield, 2 circuits round the Derwent and Lady Bar dams at 500 feet minimum height over the water itself. Our call sign, specially selected for the occasion, Delta Alpha Mike 617, Dam 617. The aircraft is 318, fleet modded, fuel 51,000 pounds.
The boss is flying with his normal crew today, isn't he?
Yeah.
Have we got the recall book here?
Recall book. Yeah, it's filled in up today.
Hi, Squadron leader Brunson. Yeah, I've got the damn button on this phone every time I forget to press it and I don't speak to each other. Yes, it's far too clever for us, let alone the opposition. I tell you what, you know what I'm asking about. The overall situation, we've given up the idea of bringing the Astrana Ranger back. They can have another weekend in Italy. The one I'm worried about, of course, is the Wing Commander's aircraft. First of all, what's space weather going to do from now on? I think he's making it up as he goes along. It's thick, isn't it?
I wondered what it was.
Very good.
Was the milk down with this?
Oh, very good.
They should be confident. Do you see that?
A good reason for it.
Disappearing off the table. No, I wondered why you bypassed that too.
Legal Brunson's mission today.
Does it explode?
What's serious?
On behalf of the aircrew feed, we'd like to say goodbye and good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Let's have a look at that one. Let's have that again. Blow them out, boss.
Come on, in one.
All in one breath.
Is this something that
05?
Someone hasn't the runway we're using.
Bravo anymore.
Go on, Boston. When do you want to know when we go?
There's a new navigation.
Where are we going? I'm not so sure about this. Hello, it's a spoof out the back.
Oh no!
Get that driver.
This is a 617 Squadron Tannoy. Wing Commander Herbertson and his crew have been kidnapped and are being held in a secure location by a highly trained guerrilla group from 617 Engineering Section. They will only be released upon payment of a large ransom to the Fund for the Cheshire Homes charity. All members of 617 Squadron should pay up without delay or the final Vulcan flight will never take off. End of broadcast.
Come on. You ready there?
Rotten bastards. We found out eventually.
How many crew photographs?
Are we? Okay. Yeah, right. Is he on it now?
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah,
Do you want your photograph now?
Okay, look at the lens, please. Okay, hold on. Right.
On the aeroplane, set the switches, and then climb down and go over to ops and just monitor the weather. I think we can take an hour and a half's delay. If there's no chance after that, then that's it. We'll put it off till next week.
Yeah. Okay.
Getting too difficult then.
If we get the improvement, will it hold? I'm thinking now in terms of getting the aircraft back in. Yeah.
13:30, you'll make us take off now.
Yeah, for timing and light and everything, but really, he said there wasn't a clearance by one.
Yeah, okay, I've got the Wing Commander here as well. He's just walked in, so I'm getting conversation on both sides. And again, asking you to crystal ball, do you think it would hold up now, or is it liable to come back in?
Well,
Well, I managed to convince the boss to launch on that. He says he's not smiling. I don't think he will. No. Okay. Well, thanks anyhow.
What do you reckon? Usual pessimism.
Nothing fantastic.
Doesn't look exactly very nice, does it?
Well, I can see the bomber for the first time, actually.
Are we going to see this clearance at all? Is there any...
Speaking to the Met man, he said there could be a clearance between 14 and 1700. He doesn't think there's any cloud over the top of this, but he thinks the fog could be as much as 400 or 500 feet thick.
Okay. Yeah, I can probably afford to go as far as 2 o'clock. That must be our bus takeoff time.
It's all ready to go?
Yeah, well, we're ready to go. It'll take us 15 minutes to get wound up.
1-5.
It's all a bit messy, I'm afraid, but it's all right.
Yeah.
Yes. These things are sent to try it.
Well, we are Dambuster.
Of course, of course.
617 Scampton Tower, you're clear to take off. The surface wind is northerly 8 knots. When airborne, contact Scampton Director, stud 16.
Delta 617 clear for takeoff, stud 16.
It's the end of an era. The squadron will reform perhaps within the next year or two as a tornado squadron, we hope. As for the rundown itself, a lot of people say, well, goodness, you must be sad, you must be sorry. I don't think we who are on the squadron at the moment, because in my own case, and indeed that of many of my officers, we were due for a change of job anyway after our 2.5 years on the squadron. So it comes as no surprise that we're moving on. More of the comments about sadness and moving occasions and so on have come from outsiders, generally people who've been able to stand back from it, and they can appreciate it perhaps a little more than we can. We're not yet certain precisely what aircraft will come back here to Scampton. We're fairly confident there will be aeroplanes here and flying will continue here, but it will indeed be a different place. But what a lot of people tend to forget is that it's happened before. Stations have changed roles. Squadrons have changed aircraft, have gone out of existence. Some people's squadrons have just disappeared totally, and they're just numbers in someone's locker of squadron numbers that can be used perhaps. We at least are fairly certain we will continue, and in years to come I'm sure everybody who's been on the squadron, particularly this time, will look back with considerable pride that they were the standard bearers of the end of this particularly good era in the history of the squadron. But certainly the last man to go out will lock the door and hand the key into the guard room, more or less, and that will be it. And then I think there'll be a tinge of sadness.